Well, I wish I would have like a beautiful, crazy story of us in a bar, and then you came to me and asked for my number.
Hmm.
But that's not how everything happened. We met on Tinder.
So fast forward, a lot of our dates were actually, moving trucks, moving equipment.
We stopped dating after our first date.
I'm like, I know what I have to do to sell that fucking fire. I gotta go find the cat.
Super exciting because there was I don't know what, and there was water, and I don't know. I'm like, bro, it smells like smoke. I'm tired and I'm hungry. I'm not going inside to see a cat or I don't know whatever you wanted to show me. I'm like, let's go. And you were like, oh, okay.
What's up, babes? How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Living the dream. Super excited to have you here on the podcast studio. What do you think?
I love it. I mean,
Yeah?
yeah.
Is this your first podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
I
first
figured.
time I'm in front of 3 cameras, so
Are you nervous?
no, but
Hmm.
a little shy. I'll warm up.
You? Shy?
Yeah, I can be shy.
Well, anyway, so my friends here are restoration contractors, and I thankfully don't need to explain to you what restoration contractors are because you've lived with one for the past 5 years. But I figured it would be an awesome time to invite you to the studio, kind of just off the cuff. There's no agenda. Dive deep into, what it's been like on this journey together. And a lot of it had to do with restoration. So hopefully some restoration contractors out there learn from our successes, from our mistakes, and who knows, maybe some really uncomfortable stories kind of emerge during this time. And yeah, be super exciting. So that's the plan for today. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Cool.
Down for that.
Cool. So I think the first thing we should probably start with, and Michelle, let me know if we shouldn't start with this, but, I guess our awesome love story and
How everything started.
how everything all started. And, if we can just keep in mind that the audience is restoration specific. So instead of going on the, our audience is probably not, middle-aged housewives. They're restoration contractors. So as long as we frame the whole story in the context of restoration, I think it'll be very, very interesting to
Sounds
everybody
good.
out there.
Which,
So.
that's how everything started.
How did it start? Well, how do you remember it started?
Well, I wish I would have like a beautiful, crazy story of us in a bar, and then you came to me and asked for my number. But that's not how everything happened. We met on Tinder, and we went on a date, and it was probably one of the worst first dates I ever had.
Why? Why is that? What did it look like?
Okay, so this guy Alex picks me up on his Jeep. It was messy.
What did
It
the
was
Jeep look like from the outside?
I mean, like very.
Okay.
Yeah, I just hop in the car, and then there's somebody on the phone. The guy who's picking me up, and he was supposed to be my date, was on the phone the entire ride until we got to the restaurant, and he just kept talking on the phone. And I'm like, man, like, yeah, hello. And then, well, you hang up, and you're like, oh, hi, I'm Alex. I'm like, dude, we've been together for the past 10 minutes. You just picked me up, drove me off here, and you just ended up your call. But yeah, you were working the entire time. You were on your phone the entire time. You were working the entire time. And yeah, that's how I remember.
And you fell in love with that, huh?
No, I did not. I yell at you. I'm like, man, if you're gonna like go out with me, at least like put your phone away. And you were like, oops.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it was. So it was not the best first date.
Yeah. So context for you guys listening, at the time, Rome Xterra was kind of past its infancy, but, still very heavily reliant on me. And I was trying to get a personal life outside of 16-hour work days. So I downloaded Tinder. I got Tinder Gold. It was a great investment, actually, and we're a Tinder Gold success story. But anyway,
I
didn't really have time
Tinder
during the
Gold.
day. It was the polar vortex had kind of gone through, and I was busy on this like 40-hour, well, not 40-hour, but anyway, super long work week streak. And I'm like, hey, let me squeeze in a lunch date. And on my way to the date to pick up Laura, I'm sitting on the phone with this insured, screaming to him. I don't know. He had some sort of BS claim in a basement of a church kind of thing. And I remember I was sitting there screaming to him as why, he shouldn't expect things to be covered or whatever. And yeah, pick you up in my messy Jeep that I was living out of for the past 2 weeks. And yeah, that's how it all started. But for whatever reason, she saw something better in me and decided to kind of stick around. Well, actually, no. Straight after that, what happened?
We stopped dating after our first date. Yep. But it was not because of you being on the phone the entire time. It was because you ghosted me. But that's a whole different story.
Anyway. So then what happens?
I was dating somebody else, and I downloaded Snapchat to talk with him, and then I just accidentally added you on Snapchat. And then you text me, you're like, ooh, long time not talking. I'm like, yeah, you stopped talking to me. Apparently you got busy with work after the day we met.
Shocker.
The reality is that he double booked himself for a party.
Well, no.
And then
I double booked myself first, but then afterwards got busy.
Oh,
with
yeah,
work.
right. Well, anyways.
Chicago literally had, like, I have a video. We would boil water, and then you were able to throw the water in the air, and it would turn into ice. And that caused, like, all of the pipes to burst in Chicagoland. So for, like, 3 weeks straight, like, trucks wouldn't start. And, Connor, you could add this video, and you'll find it on my Facebook if you go back to, like, what was this, 2019, 2018? Like, literally, we had to find creative ways to start our diesel trucks because they wouldn't start.
No,
So,
I remember.
no, we were literally busy. I
yeah, but you also double booked yourself.
Well, okay.
For
let's move
for
forward.
a party, and that's why like I delete your phone number. No, I did not delete your phone number. I delete you from Facebook and unfollow you on Instagram. And I'm like, just keep going. I mean, just another date, and just life goes on. And I did not delete your phone number, and that's how we ended up talking again. You didn't even realize that I deleted you from Facebook.
Nope.
Because you were too busy working.
Too busy working. So to make the love story move a little bit quicker for our audience here so we can dive into the meat and potatoes of restoration, what was it? December we meet. February we start dating
February
again.
8th was
right?
our second date.
By May we're engaged. That's where it gets spicy. And then July we run off to Vegas to get married.
Yep.
And then we live happily ever after. Now we're 5 years into our marriage, and we have a 2-year-old daughter at home and an amazing family.
Yep.
But let's talk about those early stages of the relationship as it pertains to you coping with this crazy guy who has these 16 to 18-hour work days, running all over the place. Like, what were our dates looking like? What did that all look like?
I mean, dating you was definitely different than dating anybody else. I still remember like one specific date where we were out and we were gonna go grab something to eat, and the food comes, and then you get a call and you answer, and you're like, oh, we have to go. I'm like, it's been like a minute since the food arrived. You're like, yeah, but I gotta go. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, yeah, there was like this fire. We have to go. And we just have to pack everything, pay, and then just go. We went to this. I mean, again, I had no idea. Well, I didn't know much about what you used to do back then. I just knew you were always busy and always on your phone. But I didn't have like the big picture of what you used to do. We went to the fire. I stayed in the car, and then, man, I don't know how long it happened, but I fell asleep. Like, that's how long I was in the car. The food was cold already. I was just there. And then I just remember you knocking on the window, and you're like, oh, my God, this is so exciting. There's like a cat. I don't know. Some cat got lost, and then you found the cat. And then apparently it was like super exciting because there was I don't know what, and there was water, and I don't know. I'm like, bro, it smells like smoke. I'm tired and I'm hungry. I'm not going inside to see a cat or I don't know, whatever you wanted to show me. I'm like, let's go. And you were like, oh, okay. I'm like, I kind of like I don't know. It was you were very excited to show me what was going on. And man, I just was expecting a normal date with somebody eating outside and just having a good night and then going home and wrapping up. But like you just got excited because of the cat and the fire, and I don't know what else happened.
The story was awesome. So yeah, we were having dinner at Buffalo Wild Wings.
It wasn't
phone ring. No, it wasn't. It was Famous Dave's. It was Famous Dave's in Bolingbrook. and
There
we
we
had
go.
ordered some like barbecue something.
Uh-huh.
The phone rings. It's the Oak Park Fire Department, and like I had worked super hard to unlock that relationship, and they had called for a board up. And like, okay, we got to go because you have to show up within an hour to these board ups. And at the time, the company was running by itself, but large fires I was handling, so we had to go. We pack up in the car, we go, and these homeowners are super freaking out about their cat. They're like, we don't know where the cat went. The fire happened and it spooked and the fire department didn't find it. But the last time we heard a meow was in the basement. I'm like, I know what I have to do to sell that fucking fire. I got to go find the cat. So there I go down the stairs of the basement. And as I'm walking down the stairs, I noticed that like the entire basement's filled with water. I'm like, oh man, I'm like electrocution hazard, all these things. But like, no, the fire department should have called ComEd and ComEd should have cut the power off by now. I should be fine. So I go in through and I have like nice, I don't know if you remember, but I was wearing nice shoes, like really nice Italian leather shoes and nice pants and stuff like that. Walk through like water up to my waist, find the damn cat, bring the cat to the homeowner, sign this fire. So I was super excited. I go back to the car where my girlfriend was sleeping and I'm like, hey, do you want to see what a fire looks like? Because it's a cool thing. Like, what in the world? And then
Like, man,
she's like,
I
no,
hate the smoke.
let me sleep. She like rolls down the window. You can smell it from the street, you know, like the stench of the fire. And she smells it. She's like, it's like, no,
I'm not going there.
don't want to do that. So
I
yeah.
know.
So fast forward, a lot of our dates were actually, you know, moving trucks, moving equipment. And I remember, you know, when I sold the Taco Express fire, which was actually the Taco Express fire, was important to our relationship in the sense of the day I dropped her off on that first date from lunch, right after that, I went to the Taco Express fire and I had signed this fire. So basically this guy had committed arson, lit this basically it was a homeless guy who was let in by some of the people in the apartments upstairs. And that homeless guy came in and he was cold and probably on drugs and made a little fire in the apartment. And then when he made the fire, he realized that he lit the whole apartment on fire, ran out the door naked. When the fire department pulled in, anyway, they tackled him, yada, yada. But that fire I signed on our anniversary of dating. So it was pretty cool. And then, you know, 4 or 5 months later, I'm dropping off this big trailer. I remember I back it up. You were with me because we would spend our dates in, like, the truck. And I remember I got super dirty or something.
Oh, yeah,
super
grab a
cold,
water, pour it on. Like,
then,
you're not going to get in the car like that. So it's like washing your
so,
hands. But yeah, that was mostly our dates, moving trucks.
Yeah.
It was very exciting. Definitely different than
Most other people's dates.
than every other date I ever had. But it was interesting.
So what kept you engaged and there with a crazy, well, boyfriend turned fiance turned husband who's working these crazy hours? I mean, there was times where we were sleeping together and the phone ring at 3 o'clock in the morning. You'd sleep, I'd run out, come back and stuff. Like, what kept you there?
Oof, that's deep.
Very deep.
I mean, I was always into smart guys. I guess this is gonna boost your ego, but I guess you're one, like, pretty much the smartest guy I ever dated, and I always dated very smart guys.
Clearly
I just like
smart
that.
people.
I mean, like, just the way your brain works is different than everyone else, and that's what I like. It's just like you function so differently that it was very interesting. The way you see, like, how ambitious you were and you are now. Yeah, just like the crazy ideas that you had in mind and your vision of life and how that connected with what I wanted in my life. It just kind of like clicked together. Your personality, like, I don't know, like at work you're like one person and you're like very like, I don't know, like, oh, I'm Alex. But like at home you're like a whole different person, and whoever gets to see that side of Alex is like, oh wow, this is like a whole different person. You're like very, I don't know, very spontaneous, very like, I don't know, very crazy. And at work you're like, oh, like it's just different. Like it was very interesting to see that. And again, very hardworking, very like family orientated. But yeah, pretty much I just like how smart you were and hardworking, and even though those are also the things that I hate the most about you, is how hardworking you are. because at first it was like got me into you, but then it's like, man, after like we start living together and everything, it's like, God, I kind of hate that, because it's like I like it, but it's like it's too much sometimes. So it's like what got me to like you is also what sometimes I complain about, which is kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's
Funny.
what I wanted to ask next is like, what were some of the challenges of, dealing with a partner who's in restoration, 16-hour days, borderline workaholic, all that, like, and at the time you were going through some pretty tough emotional things too, which you may or may not want to share, but what was it like to have me be gone for those hours, and, what were some of those challenges that came with it?
Well, I mean, it was definitely hard. Again, like one thing is like dating and just like, I don't know, not making it to a dinner and just having to like move trucks or something like that. Another thing is like having a partner that you expect to, I don't know, to share at night some moments with, to like share certain things about your day. And sometimes the partner is not there. The partner is working. And the partner sometimes was working like 2 days straight, and I wouldn't like see you until like, I don't know. Like I just didn't know if a morning I was gonna wake up and you were gonna be right next to me, or you were gonna be busy outside. Good thing though, I never woke up when when your phone rings, so it was never a problem. But I'm like, didn't know if you're gonna be there. So I mean, it was definitely hard. But again, by the time I already love you, so like dealing with those things were easier once you get like the feelings in. But I'm not gonna say it wasn't hard to like lack somebody there all the time when I need it. But
do you think it would have been sustainable to keep at that rhythm? Because clearly life right now is very different than what it was before. Do you think that we would be able to sustain the craziness of the hard work for the 5 years that we've been together?
For me, no. Mostly now that we have a daughter, and now that we're looking to get like another 2 kids. Okay, that sounds like like we're planning on having 2 more kids. I think like once you have a family, it's different. I do expect you to be more present. I do expect, not for me, but like for our kids.
Yep.
It's different when it's just me, because I'm like, again, it's just my emotions and it's just me. I personally am somebody who needs a lot of like physical connection and emotion, and I don't think I will have be able to go through 5 years with you of just you being busy all the time. So like the minute you moved to Albi, I was like, wow, life changing, completely different. I like this. This is more doable. You still work a lot, but it's way more balanced than it used to when you used to work at Remixtera.
But was it, I mean, my impression was that a lot of the changes happened prior, because I don't want, restoration contractors here listening to this podcast saying, oh, we'll just start another business and we'll solve the problem. Did you notice a difference, probably we were together for about 2 years or so throughout the Remixtera journey, so the end of my Remixtera journey, beginning of Albi journey, but did you notice a difference between when we first met Remixtera versus towards the end of my journey Remixtera, or not really?
No match. I would love to say I do, but I don't. Again, there was like a lot going on in my life at that time, so I was focusing mostly on myself that I didn't even realize when you were around or not. So it's really hard to remember.
Gotcha.
I mean, I brought it up multiple times and we worked on that a couple of times. So probably got better. Gotcha. Honestly, yeah.
So how are things different now than they were when we first met?
Well, at least I know you're home every night. You learn how to like balance out things a little bit more, in the sense of like you're not on your phone all the time working, answering calls, which is something that really got me mad, because I hate being on a table with somebody who's on their phone. Because if I take my time to go out to eat with somebody, I want that person to give me the attention back. And that was a problem that I always had with you, because you were always working
Yep.
on your phone. You were always answering. We were like talking, and you will get a call, and you just get up and answer. And it's like, bro, like, excuse yourself from the table. Tell me something. Like, at least, like, let me know that it's an important call coming up. Which again, like, I understand. It's just like once you communicate those things ahead of time, it's like, oh, okay, I know he might pick up the phone at some point during dinner, and that's okay. I don't think it's okay when you just like randomly get up and just start talking on the phone. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know if it's gonna be 2 minutes or it's gonna be an hour. So, yeah.
Yeah. One of the huge learning lessons that I had. So, well, I guess before going into that, you mentioned we would not have been together today, telling the awesome story that we're telling right now, had it not been that certain changes would have happened, right? Like totally not scalable. The 16-hour days, driving around trucks, answering the phone.
Again, I'm talking about like me. I know a lot of people who like manage to work it out, and that's okay. But again, as I said, I'm somebody who needs a lot of physical connection and emotion that I think for myself it won't have worked out as good. Could we have like managed things out? I mean, probably, but I think like once you have a kid and like I don't know, I think it's different. Like I think like there's certain things that you can do in certain times of your life, and like once you have a family, like once you have kids, it's like okay, you gotta have a little bit more of balance again, because of that child.
So we all say, and even I would say, right, we do it for our family, right? And Rome Exterra grew to 8 figures, obviously, thank God, and hard work. We were financially free for most of our relationship. But, you know, did you ever want all of that? Like, as a partner, do you want the things that, quote unquote, we work so hard for? Or would you rather see those toned down for maybe some other things that you would want?
I mean, everything has its pros and its cons, you know. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I don't enjoy the life that I live right now, or like traveling, or being able to afford certain things. It's definitely nice to have a comfortable life. You know, people say money does not buy you happiness, but it gets you comfort. And once you're in a comfortable like life, and you get to do other things that other people cannot, it gives you a sense of happiness, but not because of the money, because all the things that you're able to do with that. I think at this point, I do like the balance. Like, I think it's fine, or maybe I'm also like it's been like already 5 years, so I'm more used to it than at the beginning. So like I feel like it's okay. I think like there's a good balance. I won't like give up on any of the things that we have. Also, I know that it makes us feel good, and that's what you want. And as long as you're happy, I'm happy. So if like achieving all these things and you spending time in, I don't know, certain projects gives you happiness, it's like, why will I not like that? You know, it's like I like going to the gym or like doing art. It's like if you're against that, then what's the point of having a partner who hates that? You know, so it will be very mean of me to hate these things or to not like it, because I also like, even if it's not for myself, I know it brings you joy and happiness, and that's what you enjoy, that's what you like, that's what you love, and you're passionate about it. So it's like, and it also gives us comfort, so I'm like, why not? Like, you know, it's like a win-win. Like,
yeah, I want to double click on that. So, you know, I assume like certain restoration contractors are watching this, maybe other spouses or just entrepreneurs and spouses of entrepreneurs. But I think there's a big thing that you brought up. Well, a massive epiphany that I have is we say that we do things. I'm doing everything for my family, right? But it's like after a certain level of comfort, the family doesn't care. The kids don't care if there's, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in the bank, right? We say that we do these things for our family, which part of it's true, right? Like up to a point we do things for our family and like, you know, so on and so forth. But at the same time as entrepreneurs, we also have this like, I wouldn't call it addiction to the dopamine or addiction to the growth, or just, you know, we're on this pursuit of growing the best version of ourselves. And, you know, we're also doing it for ourselves. I think it's twofold. It's one, for the partner to understand that the entrepreneur or the person that's going on this journey needs that, to make life interesting, to, you know, that's what we're meant for. So I think it was awesome that you recognized that I need those certain things and you gave space. But it's also equally important for the entrepreneur to understand that their partner also needs certain things and their family also needs certain things. And the balance that you're talking about is very important. And for me, you know, I realized that, you know, when I was on my deathbed with COVID, and, you know, obviously that was a very tough time for both of us. You know, you were pregnant with Sophia about 6 months in, you know, COVID went wrong. And I realized, oh, wow, you know, you have the wealth. Great. You have, you know, the love of your life. But what are those moments that you've spent together and the time and stuff like that? And that's really when the light bulb came off. It's like you need a good balance, or I don't like calling it balance. I'd call it everything integrated. Like go 110% in your business and your wealth, but also go 110% in your love and family, go 110% in your health, and just go all in into everything. Versus typically entrepreneurs will go all in wealth and then use that as an excuse to cover for everything else, right? And I probably have said this a couple of times, and hopefully I use that excuse rarer now, but it's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm not going to spend as much time with the family because, you know, I'm providing food on the table. Like that's the number one excuse most entrepreneurs will use to sacrifice. And it's just unfair and it's just wrong, because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you do provide for your family, but there are ways you can provide for your family while also spending time with them. So yeah, it was huge when I realized like showing up and going 110%. In all aspects of life, and all that clicked. And then what I realized was everything compounds off of each other. You pour into your home or into your love life supports you and pushes you back, and you're even more energized. You pour into your health, you show up with a lot more energy at work, and you're able to conquer the goals, right? So, but yeah.
Yep.
So what's your biggest word of advice for, you know, somebody that's in your shoes, let's say 4 to 5 years ago, who is in a relationship with a person that is going super hard into something, whether it's restoration, doesn't have the work-life balance that you talked about, is struggling with the things that, you know, you struggled with? What's your word of advice for that person?
I mean, I'll say like communication is always key. And I know it sounds like how everybody always says that, but it's true. Like once you manage to communicate with your partner about the things that you dislike, or like I think like you both can work it out to a point that it's okay for the two of you, you know. I think we got to that point, and that's why like I don't mind like you spending certain time on certain things, because it's like you balance things out, or like at this point in life. So I think like, but again, this person isn't gonna know unless you tell them. If I just like sit and shut up and like just complain that my husband is working too much or everything, but I never said it, how are you gonna know that I don't like that? You know, I feel like us as a women always expect men to know what we're feeling or what we want, because that's just how we are. But sometimes you just gotta let things out, have a like a normal communication, like conversation, and be like, hey, dude, stop. It's time to just have a like to do this, or like to work things out, because otherwise it isn't gonna work. But yeah, I feel like we had multiple conversations before we got to this point of our lives. Like multiple conversations, like deep, meaningful conversations, in order to have a balance in our life. So, and yeah, it takes time. It's not like you're gonna wake up the next day, or well, you wake up the next day and then you change everything, but then it goes back to be the same, and it's gonna be like that multiple times. I think like, well, right now what we're doing with Alex is like having like a meeting every week, and it's like a way of like giving each other a feedback, of be like reminding each other like, hey.
So we're gonna do a podcast a year from now, because I just implemented this family meeting and this whole family planning framework. And right now, she went from being a naysayer to like doing it to now she's kind of talking about it on the podcast, but she's a little negative about it right now.
I am.
And a year from now, she's gonna be like, "This is the best thing ever. We got it here. We got it on camera. We got it memorialized."
Hey,
but
first of all, I don't like that it's a whole hour long. I
okay,
could
fine, we
like
can trim it
like
down.
we could definitely shorten up that to like a 10-15 minute. But I think it, like the whole like I don't know, giving each other feedback once a week. Again, I'm not saying like, oh my God, I love everything about the meeting. But definitely I see the pros on like telling each other, hey, this is how you didn't show up this week into your
Yep.
family, and this is how we can work this week. Because again, sometimes, sorry,
No, it's
usually
good.
happens like, again, I will tell you something and you will change for like 3 days, and then like it will go back to the
Yep.
same. And I'm like, then in 2 months when I get mad, again, then I will tell you, and you're like, oh yeah. And then like it changes for another 5 days, and then it goes back to the same. And it's like that constant reminder of like, hey, like, it's cool. It's not always gonna be the same, but hey, don't forget about this. Don't forget
Yep.
about that.
Yeah, the key here too is, asking for feedback and creating a feedback loop, meaning a consistent feedback loop. And we always want to get defensive with feedback. I'm guilty of this. I was super guilty with this, but it's like, WTF, no, you didn't understand, blah, blah, blah. No, the answer should be thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, babe, how did I show up today? You did a horrible job at this. Thank you. And vice versa, right? Like, if you were to ask me, hey, I didn't appreciate this. Thank you. And then storing that in here and then focusing on it as the loop goes. Now, the other thing with the family meetings, and I think from the very beginning we've done this, and only in the past, 6 to 12 months formalized it. But I think what held us together and got us through those tough times was the vision of the future. I think a lot of times, I would start conversations and we would talk about, what our future looks like and stuff like that. But I think that that's very important for a relationship, is knowing what are we creating together, right? And it's been how many years? Well, first of all, I'm going to ask you this question. How many kids are we going to have?
3.
Okay, and how many years have we known how many kids we want to have?
Since we met.
Exactly.
Probably.
So the vision of the future is important because you and your partner are co-creating this vision together, right? Like, and right now we've done a quarterly couples retreat where we've sat down and had an excuse to go to Mexico, which was super freaking awesome. But we basically wrote down what do we see as our vision that we're co-creating, and then what's our individual visions, right? And I think that's very important because it keeps people together during tough times. And I highly recommend everybody does it. So, but
Yeah. It's funny. I remember the first time we like realized that we both wanted 3 kids. We were in Galena.
mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh my God, you want 3 kids? Yeah, I want 3 kids. And it was like, whew.
That was easy. Yeah, cool. So communication, very important. Understanding and the vision, we kind of got those takeaways. And yeah, my challenge to the entrepreneurs out there is, the 4 pillars of life. It's not go 80% in one, 90% in another, 70 in another, 60 in 100. It's go all in. You're a driven person. You're an entrepreneur. You want to crush. You want to become 100% better every single year. Go give it your all across all. And don't look at it as mutually exclusive pillars. Go all in. Go all in your family. Go all in your life, and so on and so forth. So a lot of people are willing to invest. A lot of restorers, they won't even blink when they buy a new air mover or a new dehumidifier for $2,000. They won't even blink when they spend $30,000 on a truck mount or on a piece of equipment. But when it comes to spending, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 in their own family and investing in that, they won't do it. They just will hesitate. They'll come up with all these crazy reasons why. Or when it comes to invest that kind of money into coaching or whatever, or just go to a bunch of restorers and see how many of them are willing to do Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins, which is an awesome, personal development thing. Yeah, it's pricey, but none of them are willing to invest that. And it's crazy. It's like, take all of the stuff that works in business, that makes you successful in business, apply it across all the different pillars of life, and you'll crush, even though your wife will be like, what in the world's up with these company family meetings? But
I know.
that's how I see it. I mean, Duta HQ is our business. It's our organization. It's,
It's funny because like when you when you start like putting these things into our family, I was always like, oh my God, stop it, this is not work. Not everything has to be like that. Not everything has to be like a specific structure, or like, I don't know, sometimes it's okay to just relax and just
How do you feel about it now?
live life.
So originally you were like, just stop it. Cool.
I mean,
how do you feel now?
again, I'm not totally against it anymore, because at first I was like very close to it, because again, my biggest struggle with you has always been you bringing up work all the time. And we were out with family, and you will bring up work. Every time we're like with your brother eating out, you always have to end up like talking about work. And I absolutely hate it. Like, I want you to just like your family be that moment where like you leave work aside and you can just focus on other aspects of your life. So I never wanted you to correlate that. I'm not saying I like it or that I love it, but I do see somehow a value in it. Somehow. Again, I don't want to like him be like, oh yeah, I told you.
We'll do another podcast in a year. You know.
But again, at this point in my life, I'm not against it. I guess I've been just trying to figure out how to implement that and like learning the value of that in our family.
Yeah. So here's how I see it. I believe in a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from, right? Creation is creating, building value. That's just how I'm wired. Some people are wired to, work 40 hours a week for 50 years of their life, then retire, go somewhere on a beach in Mexico and, slowly degrade from when they're 60 to 90 and live the life. I'm not like that, right? And I think that, creating a business or taking a product to the market and creating a family is similar in the sense of it's co-creation. It's different, right? Because one's very emotional, one's not emotional. But at the end of the day, it's a group of people buying into a vision and capital or resource alignment to that vision. And yes, if you take a family, right, a regular family that might not be driven or might not have values or goals or everything crystallized, right, it could be not fall into that bucket. But if you're looking to co-create with your partner, one, it's fun. And a lot of people actually, I have a theory that a lot of couples get into business together, even though we probably won't ever get into business together, for the desire to co-create together. But it's like we're co-creating in a different way. We're building a family together. We're building a legacy together. We have a vision of what our future looks like. We're building a house together. We know exactly we kind of disagree on it, but we know exactly what car we're going to get next. We know exactly how many kids we're going to have, right? And you're co-creating. And in order to create those mechanisms of co-creation, some stuff from business, and I don't consider business as like money making, I consider business as value creation. Some of those frameworks work really well in the personal stuff, and it's fun. Or at least it's a one way for me to wrap my head around stuff and make sure things are intentional. So.
This is how you work.
Yeah. Yeah. So babe, why don't you think we would ever do business together?
I am the boss in the house, and I will never allow Alex to boss me. If we do business together, I think I will have to be very flexible in many things and let him tell me what to do, which I will never allow a man to do. So I could never, unless I'm the boss and I'm the one who makes the rules, and he just kind of is there, which is not gonna happen because we have very similar personalities in the sense that we very like to take the lead of things, and that just doesn't work out all the time. Yeah. And it doesn't work out in business.
Kudos to all the couples out there that work together. I think that's huge, and who knows, maybe we'll figure it out someday. I mean, we work well together when it comes to doing stuff together, but I mean,
no.
Come on. So another side story. We had totally different ideas of the house that we wanted to build. Right? I was very modern, like sleek, contemporary. She loved the freaking castle-looking things in Hinsdale that I absolutely hated. And we came together and we built this mix of a contemporary, modern mix of a house, and we love it. Like the architects just finished up the project. Stay tuned for more pictures and stuff as we break ground this year. But, that's where, I don't know, those kinds of things we do very well on. But it takes, a give, it takes... I don't have 100% ownership of this Duta HQ, which is our family. You don't have 100% ownership. It's basically give and take, and same with raising her kids. It's the same way. She comes from a different culture. I come from a different culture, and it's awesome to work together that way. But yeah, who knows? Maybe business-wise, who knows if it'll work out or not. We'll see.
I don't know.
Yeah, babe. So kind of concluding here, I really enjoyed our time here in the studio together and your first podcast. I think that a lot of people are going to watch this podcast and invite you to many other podcasts, so get ready for that. But I loved, sharing our love story. That was really cool. And I think it's the first time we talk about our love story live. So that was awesome. We talked about how you kind of coped with Crazy Alex, the 16-hour days, how to deal with restoration in general, being exposed to it. And then we talked about the shift between restoration, 16-hour days, to now having balance and going all in on the different aspects of life. So that was pretty cool. You gave some advice to potential partners, and I gave some advice to the crazy entrepreneurs. So that was awesome. And then we talked about how we applied some business principles into our personal life to make Duta HQ work out. So that was a blast. I think very productive for
We talk
half
a
an
lot,
hour to
though.
45 minutes.
We always do.
Well, that's the point.
That's the one thing. No, the one thing we have in common is like we both like talking.
Yeah, we do.
So we can cover a lot in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to bringing you back in the next 6 to 12 months and kind of give people some updates. We'll see if Laura loves the meeting framework with the quarterly couple retreats or if she hates them. And we'll see if we ever get in business together. Who knows? Coffee shop, restaurant.
TBD.
To be determined. So yeah, if you like this content and want to hear more, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. It's our goal to bring more value to the restoration industry. I mean, heck, our mission as a whole here at Albi is to propel the restoration industry forward. And I think we're the first to bring, the emotional, husbandly wife feeling and the struggles that we went through to the restoration industry. And I'd love to hear from all of you in the comments below. I know a lot of you work with your spouses, so I'd love to hear how that is, some of the biggest struggles. And, feel free to reach out to me on social, too, if there's any, struggles or crises that you're working through because, we only have one marriage, hopefully. So
some might have 2, 3, 4,
some
5.
people might have
6.
3, 4, or 5 in other cultures, but it's like, you can have multiple businesses, right? But it's not worth sacrificing your marriage for a business or a restoration company. And you can have a kick-ass 8-figure cash flowing business, an awesome superstar wife and family, and an amazing relationship with your kids, an amazing relationship with your God, and a super ripped and jacked body. And I know on the ripped and jacked body area, I'm working on it, but we'll talk in 6 months and I'll prove to you guys that you can do all of those. Talk to you guys soon.